Climate change can have a variety of effects on a community. Some of them are more obvious than others, like how a warming climate can contribute to drought. A less evident effect, how it can exacerbate poverty, and poverty can exacerbate domestic violence.
Being without purpose is not a good thing. Rather, when you join hands with others, you can stay well and learn to acquire a skill to do something that can support your livelihood.
You're listening to Nature Answers, rural stories from a changing planet. I'm Ivy Prosper. Welcome back to the second episode of our two-part special located in a community 2 hours away from Mubande, Uganda. In the last episode, we heard from two women about how deforestation impacted their lives. Specifically, we learned how inaccessibility to resources like water and firewood led to increased rates of domestic violence. Before we dive further into this week's episode, I would like to warn you, this episode addresses sensitive topics, including pregnancy loss and descriptions of domestic violence. It may be distressing to listeners. Please listen with care. Last time, we met Annet Nassanga, a leader in the Katagi Village. She described the abuse she experienced. It started when her husband became suspicious about why she would be away from the house for hours. We learned that after the community forests were destroyed, women had to travel further to collect materials to provide for their families. Sometimes this would take hours. Annette's abuse eventually stopped, but her desire to prevent other women from being abused was only just beginning. Being the vice chairwoman of the Cheza Balimi Tibigate Farmers Group was just part of the solution. To Annet, environmental restoration initiatives alone aren't enough to prevent women from experiencing abuse. Today, we'll learn what it takes. Let's join her now. She sits on a white plastic chair in the foyer of her home, taking shelter from the rain coming down outside. We learned that Annet came to Katagi Village when she was just 14 years old. Now she explains why.
My mom told me, go to your clan people to get school fees because I am tired. I have failed.
Her mother worked as a trader in a district called Mpiji. She could not afford to send Annet to school. So she sent her to Katagi Village, located 142 kilometers away.
When I came for school fees, my aunt also could not afford to grant my wish. So I found a man and got married, though this wasn't my intention.
She was married and pregnant within the year. But her first pregnancy ended in loss. At 16, she gave birth. In the last episode, she told us about the years of abuse she endured from her husband. This started at an early age. In Uganda, the legal age for consent is 18, but many girls find themselves in marriages before 18 for reasons similar to Annet. Some turn to marriage in attempts to escape poverty or worse situations. In Katagi Village, Annet says it is common for girls to get married around the age of 14.
For as long as the child is not going to school, this is what happens.
Being unable to afford education, getting married below the age of consent, and the violence she faced only inspired her. Annet was determined to become a leader. She wants to prevent other women and girls from being abused.
I joined leadership at the age of 18, but I told them I was 20. I was motivated by what I had experienced. I do not wish for my fellows to encounter the same.
Annet warns young women about the dangerous situations that can arise from early marriage. This is often called forced marriage, as children cannot consent to marriage even if they feel like it is their choice.
I am trying to see those who have not yet experienced this violence. When I bring them together, I show them the negative things that come with early marriage.
You may be wondering how forced marriage is relevant to a podcast about climate change. Like Annet, many young women in Katagi Village have struggled to financially support themselves. This often results in young girls looking for marriage as an escape. From Annette's experience, we've heard how being financially dependent on another person can create situations where women feel trapped. Agriculture, gardening, and farming are actions people in the village have turned to. But these activities rely on favorable climate conditions to be successful. Without high crop yields, people struggle to make an income. Many still live in poverty. And there are clear connections between poverty, stress, and domestic violence. The women we hear from today have had their lives shaped by poverty. They highlight how the poverty they've experienced has been exacerbated by the effects of climate change.
My name is Zigama Elivania.
Elivania sits on the wooden bench under the tree as children play and birds chirp around her. She wears a white collared t-shirt and a long patterned black skirt. Elivania rents a home here in Katagi where she stays with her 4 children. She seems nervous. Her voice is quiet as she introduces herself.
Can I speak louder?
After that, her once soft voice grows sharper as she describes why she came to live in the community.
Before things failed to work with my husband, I used to go and spend whole days in the garden digging and working. Sometimes I would go and gather firewood. One day, when I was getting firewood, I cut my finger badly on the branches of a shrub. My husband refused to take me to the hospital. It reached a point where my finger started to rot. I was left with no choice but to go to a hospital by myself. Even at the government hospital, you need money. I didn't have any. Finally, they had to cut it off.
Elivania stops, holding up her right hand to show that her ring finger is missing.
My husband and I kept having disagreements. He was beating me real bad. After he beat me one time, I went to the hospital again, and they found my uterus was badly injured. They had to remove it.
Elivania took her children and came to Katagi Village to escape the abuse she endured from her husband. Now, as a member of the Cheza Balimi Tewigate Farmers Group, Elivania works in people's gardens, weeding, tilling, and digging to make money to support her children. But chronic pain and illness limit her ability to work.
In the past, we used to get some herbs from the forest. If you're having stomach pains, you would pound them and drink, and then you feel better. But because they destroyed the forest, you can't find those herbs.
Elivania turned to the forests when the hospital wasn't an option. But environmental degradation has taken that away. Illness makes it difficult for her to earn money.
When I use a lot of strength to work, I get sick.
She says the droughts caused by the destruction of the forest have increased illness in the community.
When we have a long drought, our lives lose so much because many people get sick. The rain doesn't come because they kept cutting down the trees and people get sick a lot.
Still, Elivania is hopeful that things can change. She wants the forest to be restored so herbal medicine can be easily found again.
It helps when you don't have money to take yourself to the health facilities for treatment.
Poverty limits Elivania's ability to get medical treatment. Now, we'll hear how it impacts education.
Kyalinkunda Esiter.
My name is Kyalinkunda Esiter. I am a member of the Cheza Balimi Twegate group.
When approached by leaders of Cheza Balimi Twegate, Esther saw an opportunity to help herself and her children. After joining the group, she was given tree seedlings and an area to plant. It is her 3 children that motivated her to get involved.
As a parent, I try as hard as I can. I have to use whatever strength I have to see that I raise my children.
Esther grew up as a middle child of 8. When her mother got sick, Esther helped take care of her younger siblings, bathing them, cooking things like rice and meat, and helping in the garden. She used to find joy playing games like dodgeball with her siblings. Now, she says her children are what brings her the most joy. When she describes what they are like, her face lights up.
My children like playing together and reading. My eldest even plays football. He loves it so much.
But the responsibility to provide for her children is hers alone. After being abused by her husband, Esther has permanent injuries. They make physical labor, like gardening, difficult.
I even don't know where the father of my children went.
She wants her children to be given better opportunities than she was. Growing up, Esther's parents could not afford to send her to school. Now, she's facing the same challenges with her own children.
These children, their education, I would say, I'm failing to manage it. I try to find food to feed them. They get sick. Sometimes I fail to pay school fees. I tell them, maybe you'll go back to school when I get money.
Inaccessibility to education is one factor that Annet thinks leads to domestic violence. Earlier, she told us her mother and aunt couldn't afford to pay her school fees. It was this inaccessibility to education that drove her into forced marriage and put her in a situation where she was then abused. She wants to prevent other women from feeling trapped.
All those domestic conflicts arise when women have nothing to do. When someone has no work, they lack something to push forward.
In 2019, she started her own program. Her goal, to educate women and help them escape poverty and become financially independent. She runs weekly study groups with girls from ages 10 to 14. She also works with women between the ages of 18 to 25 who have not had an opportunity to go to school. In her program, women learn things like basket weaving, bookmaking, and gardening.
We try to see that someone commits to learn at least a hands-on skill that can sustain them. Once we complete training, we provide them with some startup capital to enable them start their own business.
But it is not only women Annet thinks need to be educated. She wants knowledge to be shared with men too.
I think they should create more awareness amongst the husbands so that everyone clearly understands their roles.
Annet is not the only one who understands the importance of raising awareness. Miriam Nagawa has seen the way reports of domestic violence have changed over the last 30 years. We'll join her now in her office in Mubende district, 2 hours away from Katagi Village. Stacks of files and loose papers clutter her desk.
Naga Mariam, Senior Probation Officer, Mubende District Local Government.
Miriam explains that increases in reports on domestic violence are seasonal. During planting season, less cases are reported as many people are busy in the fields. But during harvest season, when it's time to pay school fees, cases rise. Many cases she sees are related to money. And as we know, money is often tied to environmental conditions. But not all cases of domestic violence are reported.
The more you create awareness, the more cases are reported. Recently they were saying, why Mubende cases are many? It's because we move to ground, we sensitize, we create awareness, and people know what to do rather than keeping quiet.
Miriam says a better understanding of gender roles is needed.
They forget that both of them have equal responsibility towards upbringing of their child. It's equal responsibility, equal opportunity.
Financial independence and access to education are tools Annet thinks are required to create equal opportunity. One of the women Annet is helping sits in her home as she speaks.
I even have a mother of twins here. There she is. She simply can't wait on the man with whom she fathered the children. So we support her while she also supports herself.
Though it is a difficult job, Annet says it is rewarding.
I get so happy when the children that I have selected attain what I wish for them.
The first year she started the program, she had 4 girls. Now, she has between 29 to 30 enrolled in the program. Through education, Annet says she's hopeful that domestic violence can be reduced. She hopes to continue expanding her program and raising awareness. Sharing knowledge between the members of Cheza Balimi Tewigate is helping.
Tuwangana amagezi nga tutudde eyandibadde nga agendera kwekyo.
We offer advice to each other when we meet in the group. When we meet, everyone has stories to share. We started to advise each other, telling each other, this shouldn't be like this, maybe it should be like this, so that we can stay together in peace with less domestic violence. The group members are slowly changing.
As the effects of climate change impact agriculture and exacerbate poverty, more awareness must be created to make positive change. Annet encourages more people to get involved in the group so they can help restore the environment and spread awareness at the same time. She believes environmental initiatives aren't enough to improve the lives of those experiencing domestic violence. More broadly, she wants people to hear her story and listen to the traumatic experiences she went through so that they can learn. Thank you for tuning in to Nature Answers, a podcast produced by Farm Radio International. You can learn more about nature-based solutions and the people implementing them by subscribing to Nature Answers wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media at Farm Radio or visit us at farmradio.org/natureanswers. Tune in to the next episode of Nature Answers, where we'll look at another exciting story about a rural community using a nature-based solution to adapt to climate change. And we want to hear from you. Open up the recording app on your phone, tell us your name and where you're listening from, as well as a nature-based solution you're using in your community. Send your recording to Nature Answers at farmradio.org and you may be featured in a future episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Ivy Prosper, coming to you from Accra, Ghana.
This episode was written and produced in Uganda by me, Madison Eldridge, with support from staff from Farm Radio International's office in Kampala, Uganda. Thank you to everyone in the Uganda office for making me feel welcomed and supported during my time here. A special thank you to Doreen Aina Mbabazi. This podcast could not have happened without your extensive help and guidance contacting community members and building trust. I am honored to have worked with and met the resilient women in Katagi Village. It is a privilege to have been welcomed into the homes of women in the community and to listen to their experiences. I hope this series is a reminder that if you have experienced domestic violence, you are not alone. It is important to keep spreading awareness. To Annet, Eva, Ilvania, and Esther, I would like to thank each of you for speaking with me and trusting me to share your story. Thank you as well to the community members of Katagi Village for supporting this production. Many thanks to Ali Mubiru from Radio Simba for your guidance, knowledge, and additional recordings. Thank you to Gertrude Nalabinga and Brenda Mugwisaje Marangi for the hours spent working on translations. To my fellow volunteer, Victor Vigas Alvarez, thank you for supporting me throughout this production and experience. And a special thanks to Nanaba Duncan from Carleton University for your encouragement. I joined as a part of Carleton University's Global Journalism Internship Program with the School of Journalism. Now let's hear from our translators for this episode.
My name is Gertrude Nalubinga. I am reading on behalf of Annet Nassanga.
My name is Brenda Mugwisaje Marangi. I'm voicing over Zigama Elivania.
My name is Hadija Motes. I'm here reading for Esther Kyalinkunda.
To chat about this episode or to see more of my work, you can find me on LinkedIn as Madison Eldridge.
I'm John McGill, one of the producers and the editor of this season of Nature Answers. Farm Radio International compensated community members who participated in our interviews. It is a common practice to compensate a person in this region for the time that they spent being interviewed. Our podcast would exclude many important perspectives if we could only interview those who could afford to step away from their economic activities without compensation. Nature Answers was produced by Farm Radio International, thanks to funding from the Government of Canada.
This podcast episode is in loving memory of Hadija Mutes, who passed away in April of 2026. I'm grateful for all of the hugs, laughs, and smiles we shared during my time at the office. You were such a warm, bright light to be around, and I know you are loved and missed dearly.